I jolted awake in the dead of night, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. The clock on my nightstand glowed 2 a.m. and my phone buzzed again on the pillow next to me. I grabbed it, squinting at the screen through bleary eyes, expecting maybe a wrong number or one of those spam alerts. But the message from an unknown sender hit me like a freight train. "Your husband is with me right now." My stomach twisted into knots and I sat up straight in bed, the sheets tangling around my legs. Who the hell was this? I stared at the words, my mind racing back over the last 10 years of my marriage to Victor. Years I'd poured everything into, sacrificing my graphic design career to raise our 2 kids. Mia, who's 7, and little Ben at 4, while he built his consulting business from nothing. Welcome to Stories of Auntie Maya. I share new life stories here every day and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you, right? Now, I read every single comment and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. I tried to steady my breathing, but the pain sliced through me sharp and deep. Betrayal, that's what this felt like, raw and ugly. I'd felt the emotional distance creeping in for months, maybe years. Victor's late nights at the office, his vague answers about where he'd been, the way he'd brush off my questions with a tired smile. "Work's crazy, Nadia, you know that," he'd say. But I always pushed it down, telling myself it was for the family. I gave up promotions, friends' nights out, even my own dreams, to keep our home running smooth. Cooking meals, handling school runs, paying bills on time. And now this? My fingers trembled as I typed back, "Who is this? What are you talking about?" But no reply came. Just that sinking feeling of suspicion I'd ignored too long, bubbling up like poison. The phone buzzed once more and I almost dropped it. Another message. He's asleep next to me. "Want proof?" My throat tightened, humiliation washing over me in waves. How could he do this? I'd been the rock, the one holding it all together while he chased success. Resentment I'd buried deep surged forward. All those times I felt exhausted, alone in our big house, wondering if he even noticed me anymore. I clicked open the attachment, and there it was, a blurry photo of Victor in what looked like a hotel bed. His arm draped over a pillow, face relaxed in sleep. The room wasn't ours. The headboard was cheap and unfamiliar. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them back hard. No, I wouldn't fall apart yet. This was the gut punch I'd feared but never faced, the crack in the facade of our perfect life. Emotional isolation gripped me tighter than ever, me alone in our bed, while he was God knows where with someone else. I paced the bedroom floor in the dark, my bare feet cold on the hardwood. The kids were asleep down the hall, innocent and oblivious, and that thought fueled a fire in me. How dare this stranger invade my world like this? I wanted to scream, to call Victor right then and demand answers, but something held me back, a spark of the strength I'd lost over the years. Heartbreak clawed at my chest, making it hard to breathe, but I forced myself to sit on the edge of the bed and think. Ignoring this wouldn't make it go away. I'd suspected something for too long. The late texts he hid, the cologne that wasn't his usual. Humiliation burned hot. What if our friends knew? Our neighbors? But suspicion turned to determination. I couldn't panic. I had to uncover the truth for me and the kids. No more sacrificing in silence. Morning light filtered through the curtains hours later, but I hadn't slept a wink. Victor's side of the bed was still empty, cold as my resolve hardened. He'd texted me around midnight saying he'd be home late from a client meeting. But now I saw through it. I heard the front door creak open downstairs around 6 a.m., his footsteps heavy on the stairs. "Nadia, you up already?" he called softly, poking his head into the room with that charming grin I'd fallen for a decade ago. He looked disheveled, shirt wrinkled, but he played it off like always. "Rough night at the office. Deal went south." I forced a smile, my voice steady even as my insides churned. "Yeah, I bet. Coffee's on downstairs." He nodded, leaning in for a quick kiss on my forehead, but I turned away just enough to avoid it, pretending to fix the bed. Inside, the pain twisted deeper, betrayal confirmed by his casual lie. As he headed to the shower, I slipped my phone into my pocket. The messages burning a hole in my mind. The kids stirred in their rooms, Mia calling out for breakfast, Ben giggling about cartoons. I went through the motions, pouring cereal, packing lunches, but my thoughts raced. Who was this woman? How long had it been going on? The emotional isolation hit hardest then, surrounded by the chaos of family life I'd built alone. I'd given up so much, and for what? Humiliation at the thought of being the clueless wife everyone pitied. But no, I wouldn't let it break me. Suspicion had turned to a quiet fury, and I knew I had to act smart, not rash. For the first time in years, I felt a drive to fight back, to peel away the layers of our marriage and see what was really there. Victor came down dressed sharp for work, grabbing his coffee with a wink. "You're a lifesaver, babe." "Kid's ready," I nodded, handing him his briefcase. But my eyes lingered on his phone buzzing in his pocket. "Everything okay?" I asked casually, testing the waters. He glanced at it quickly, silencing it. "Just work stuff, nothing important." Liar, I thought, but I kept my face neutral. "All right, have a good day." As he kissed the kids goodbye and headed out the door, I watched his car pull away, my hand clutching my phone. The pain was unbearable. Heartbreak from the man I'd trusted, suspicion now a certainty. But I wouldn't ignore it anymore. This was the start. I had to uncover the truth without letting on, for the sake of everything I'd built. I sat at the kitchen table that morning, my coffee going cold in my hands as I watched Mia and Ben dig into their pancakes. The kids were full of energy. Mia chattering about her school project on animals and Ben smearing syrup all over his chin while he giggled. I forced a smile and wiped his face with a napkin, but my mind kept drifting back to that blurry photo on my phone, the one of Victor in that unfamiliar hotel bed. It felt like a weight pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe normally. Victor came down the stairs a few minutes later, his hair still damp from the shower, and he dropped a quick kiss on top of Mia's head before grabbing his mug. "Morning, everyone." "Those pancakes look amazing, Nadia." "Thanks," I said, keeping my voice light as I passed him a plate. He sat across from me, but I noticed right away how he placed his phone face down on the table, something he'd been doing more and more lately. It buzzed once, and he glanced at it without flipping it over, his thumb hovering like he was deciding whether to check it. "Everything okay at work?" I asked casually, stirring my coffee to avoid looking him straight in the eye. He nodded, but his gaze flicked away for a second too long. "Yeah, just the usual chaos. Got a big client presentation today." I wanted to push more, ask about last night again, but the kids were right there, and I didn't want to stir up anything in front of them. As we ate, his phone buzzed again, and this time he picked it up quickly. Unlocking it with a new passcode I didn't recognize, he must have changed it recently. He typed something fast, then locked it and slipped it into his pocket before standing up. "Gotta run to the bathroom real quick," he said, taking the phone with him like he couldn't leave it behind for even a minute. I stared at his empty chair, suspicion twisting in my gut. Why the secrecy? We'd shared everything once, including our phones. But now it felt like he was building walls around parts of his life. When he came back, I tried another subtle question. "Hey, I noticed some weird charges on the credit card statement last month, like that dinner at the upscale place downtown. Was that a client thing?" He paused with his fork in hand, then shrugged it off with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Oh yeah, probably. Business lunches add up. Don't worry about it, Nadia. I've got it handled." I nodded like it was no big deal, but inside, the heartbreak gnawed at me deeper. Those charges had been popping up more often, for hotels and restaurants I didn't know about, and his brush-offs only fueled my doubts. After breakfast, I helped the kids get ready for school, zipping up Mia's backpack while Ben tugged at my leg for a hug. Victor grabbed his briefcase and keys, giving me a peck on the cheek that felt mechanical. "See you tonight, babe. Love you." "Love you too," I replied automatically, watching him head out the door. The house felt quieter once he was gone. That perfect suburban kitchen with its granite counters and family photos on the fridge suddenly, seeming so cold and empty. Emotional isolation hit me hard. I'd given up my graphic design work to build this life, supporting his business dreams. And now it all felt like a facade cracking under the weight of his secrets. Later that morning, after the school run where I dropped Mia and Ben off at their classrooms with waves and promises of ice cream later, I drove home in silence, my phone sitting in the cup holder like a ticking bomb. No new messages yet, but the wait was agonizing, each passing minute building the tension. I pulled into the driveway and sat there for a bit, staring at the front door of our house, the one we'd bought 5 years ago when his consulting firm started taking off. How many business trips had there really been? I went inside and tried to distract myself with laundry, folding tiny shirts and socks while my thoughts raced. Then, around noon, my phone finally buzzed on the counter. I snatched it up, my heart pounding. The unknown number again. "He's not as faithful as you think." Attached was a photo of Victor at an upscale dinner table, his hand resting on a wine glass, laughing with someone just out of frame, the timestamp from 2 weeks ago. During one of those trips, he said, "We're all work." I sank onto the couch, zooming in on the image, my fingers trembling. The restaurant looked fancy, candles flickering, nothing like our family dinners at home. Another buzz came right after. "We had a great time. Ask him about it." The taunt stung like salt in a wound, designed to push me over the edge, to make me call him screaming or show up at his office. Humiliation burned through me. What if this was real? And I'd been blind to it all these years? I wanted to fire back a message, demand who this was, but I held off, breathing deep to stay calm on the outside even as the storm raged inside. Instead, I saved the photo next to the hotel one, building my own little file of suspicions. The silence between messages felt endless, like this stranger was toying with me, waiting to see if I'd crack. By mid-afternoon, as I picked up some groceries to keep busy, another message hit, traveling in style with me. Your turn to stay home. This time, the photo showed Victor at an airport lounge, sipping a drink, looking relaxed and happy, dated from last month when he claimed he was at a conference alone. The provocation was clear, rubbing in his freedom while I handled the home front. I gripped the steering wheel on the way back, fighting back tears, the betrayal slicing deeper with each image. Why send these now to gloat? To force a reaction that would make me look crazy? Back at home, I unpacked the bags mechanically, the kids' snacks lining up on the shelf, a reminder of why I couldn't lose it. Emotional isolation wrapped around me tighter. No one to confide in yet, not without proof. As evening rolled in, I started dinner, chopping vegetables while keeping an eye on my phone. Victor texted around 5 p.m., "Meeting running long, might stay at the office late tonight." I stared at the screen, suspicion flaring. Was he really there or off with whoever this was? I tested him casually. "Okay, no problem. How's the presentation going?" His reply came fast. "Great, sealed the deal. Be home as soon as I can." Smooth as ever, but I knew better now, those photos screaming lies. I served the kids their pasta, listening to Mia's stories from school and Ben's babble about his toys, their innocence grounding me. After baths and bedtime stories, I tucked them in, kissing their foreheads and watching them drift off in the soft glow of the nightlight. Standing in the hallway, the house dark and quiet, I felt the frustration peak, the taunts, the secrecy, the odd charges adding up to something ugly. Heartbreak and humiliation mixed with a growing resolve. I couldn't explode and risk everything. For the kids. No, I'd stay calm, investigate smartly, gather more before I made a move. This conflict was just beginning, and I wouldn't let it break me without a fight. I woke up before the alarm the next morning, my body tense from the broken sleep, the taunting photos from yesterday still looping in my mind like a bad dream I couldn't shake. The clock showed 5:45 a.m., and Victor was sprawled out beside me, his breathing steady after stumbling in late again, the faint scent of unfamiliar perfume clinging to his shirt. I slipped out of bed quietly, my bare feet hitting the cool floor, and headed downstairs to start the coffee, needing the routine to steady myself. The kitchen was dim, the only light from the under-cabinet bulbs, and I poured water into the machine with careful hands, forcing my thoughts away from the rage building inside. Mia and Ben would be up soon, and I couldn't let this show. Not yet. Victor came down around 6:30, his hair tousled, grabbing a mug from the cabinet without a word at first. "Morning," he said finally, filling his cup and leaning against the counter. His phone already in hand, face down like always. I stirred cream into mine, keeping my voice even as I tested the waters. "You got in pretty late again. Was the meeting that intense?" He looked up, his eyes meeting mine for a brief second before sliding away, that charming smile kicking in. "Yeah, you know how it goes. Clients dragging things out. Nothing I can't handle." I nodded, but pushed a little further, casual as I could make it. "And last month, with all those trips, were you traveling more than usual?" The schedule seemed packed. He set his mug down, a hint of annoyance flashing across his face. "Nadia, why the interrogation first thing? It was work, plain and simple. Conferences, networking. It's what keeps the business growing." His tone turned it back on me, like I was the one overreacting. And I felt the seethe start deep in my chest, but I just smiled faintly. "Just asking. Coffee's hot." The kids tumbled in then, Mia rubbing her eyes and asking for cereal, Ben climbing onto his chair with a yawn. I busied myself pouring bowls and slicing fruit, the normalcy a shield as Victor chatted with them about school and toys. "Daddy, will you be home for dinner tonight?" Mia asked, her spoon midway to her mouth. He ruffled her hair. "I'll try, Princess. Work's crazy, but I'll make it if I can." Another smooth lie delivered with that arrogant ease, and it made my blood boil inside. How could he sit there, playing the perfect dad, while those photos proved otherwise? I kept my face neutral, handing Ben his sippy cup. But the disdain for him grew sharper, his brazen dismissal fueling the fire I had to contain. After breakfast, Victor grabbed his briefcase and headed out with quick kisses for the kids, barely glancing my way. "See you later," he called over his shoulder, the door clicking shut behind him. I cleared the table, the silence settling in heavy, broken only by the kids' chatter as I got them dressed for school. My phone stayed quiet through the morning rush, the dread of waiting twisting my gut. No buzz. No new taunts, just the echo of yesterday's messages mocking me. I dropped Mia and Ben off at school with waves and hugs, then drove home, the car feeling too small for the storm raging inside. Back in the kitchen, I sat at the table with my laptop open, pretending to check emails, but really just staring at the screen, waiting. Around 11 a.m., the phone finally vibrated on the counter, the sound like a jolt through my body. I picked it up, my fingers steady despite the pulse hammering in my throat. The unknown number. "He's bored with your routine life. That's why he needs me for the excitement." The words sliced deep, cruel and pointed, hitting every insecurity I'd buried. The years I'd given up my graphic design work, the endless days of kid routines and household management while he chased his consulting empire. I read it again, humiliation burning hot, the sender clearly aiming to bait me into exploding, to make a scene that would play right into their hands. But I didn't reply. Instead, I took a screenshot, saved it to a hidden folder in my cloud drive, and noted the timestamp in a private note app on my phone. No deleting. I needed this trail, every piece secured where Victor couldn't stumble on it. The silence stretched after that, an agonizing hour where I paced the living room, folding laundry to keep my hands busy, the suburban quiet amplifying the pressure. Then, just past noon, another buzz cut through the air. I grabbed the phone, breathing deep to stay composed. "He complains about how predictable you are, no spark left in your marriage. But with me, it's fireworks every time." Attached was a photo that made my stomach drop. Victor in a hotel lobby, smirking at the camera. His arm draped around a shadowy figure, close enough to imply everything. The intimacy screaming from the frame. The timestamp matched one of his business trips last week, and the cruelty of it all deepened the wound. This stranger boasting about their affair, revealing Victor's betrayals word for word. I wanted to shatter the phone, scream into the void, but I forced myself to screenshot it too, adding it to the hidden album, muting the notifications so no previews would pop up if Victor glanced over. Evidence first, rash reactions would only give them what they wanted. Afternoon blurred into errands, picking up groceries with the radio on low, the messages replaying in my head like poison. The stronger proof in that lobby photo confirmed it all. The sender's goal crystal clear, provoke me into confronting him too soon, making me look unhinged. But I wouldn't bite. I archived the chat thread in my messaging app, keeping it accessible but out of sight, my mind shifting to strategy amid the seething rage. By 4 p.m., as I waited in the school pickup line, Victor texted, "Client dinner tonight. Might be late. Don't wait up." I stared at the screen, his casual arrogance stoking the fire, but I typed back neutral. "Okay, drive safe." Inside, the disdain peaked. He thought he was so clever, lying without a hitch. Evening came with the kids' homework and dinner, Mia drawing pictures at the table while Ben stacked blocks on the floor. I helped them, my voice steady, the calm exterior holding as I laughed at Mia's jokes and wiped Ben's hands. But underneath, the mockery echoed, boring, predictable, no spark, and it fueled a quiet vow as I tucked them into bed later, watching their chests rise and fall in sleep. I wouldn't be baited. I'd uncover the full truth on my terms, control the timing, and make sure when I struck, it counted. The conflict had risen higher, but so had my resolve. The days blurred together after those cruel messages kept piling up, each one a fresh stab that I hid behind smiles for the kids. I sat at my desk in the home office that afternoon, the room cluttered with old design sketches I'd abandoned years ago, and decided it was time to dig deeper into those odd charges I'd hinted at before. My laptop screen glowed as I logged into our shared bank account, my fingers hovering over the keyboard before clicking on the statements from the last 6 months. What I found made my breath catch. Unauthorized expenses everywhere, hundreds on fancy restaurants, hotel stays, even jewelry stores that Victor had never mentioned. One charge jumped out. A weekend spa retreat dated the same as his conference last month, right when that airport photo had been taken. I scrolled further, my heart sinking as the totals added up to thousands. Money from our joint savings that I'd contributed to from my old freelance gigs before I gave it. All up for the family. I printed a few pages quietly, the printer whirring in the background while Mia practiced her spelling words at the kitchen table, nearby. "Mom, what's betrayal spell like?" she asked innocently, looking up with those big eyes that mirrored Victor's. I forced a laugh, tucking the statements into a drawer. "Betrayal, sweetie. It's a word from stories, like when someone isn't honest." She nodded and went back to her notebook. But inside, the betrayal hit me harder than ever, confirming the affair with cold, hard numbers. These weren't business expenses. They were lavish dates and gifts for whoever this woman was, leaving me financially vulnerable after 10 years of building this life together. I felt utterly powerless, like the ground was crumbling under me. How much more had he siphoned without me knowing? That evening, Victor came home earlier than usual, dropping his keys on the counter with a tired sigh. "Hey babe, what's for dinner? Smells good." I stirred the pasta sauce on the stove, Ben tugging at my leg for a snack, and I kept my voice steady. "Spaghetti. Listen, I was looking at the bank statements today. There are some charges I don't recognize, like that spa thing and a bunch of dinners. What's going on with those?" He paused, leaning on the fridge door as he grabbed a beer, his eyes narrowing just a bit. "Charges? Nadia, you're always worrying about nothing. Those are client entertainments, whining and dining to close deals. Why are you digging through that anyway?" I set the spoon down, facing him while the kids played in the living room. "It just seems off, Victor. Thousands gone and you never mentioned any of it. Are you sure it's all work?" He laughed, but it came out sharp like a blade. "Sure? Of course I'm sure. What, you think I'm hiding something? You're sounding paranoid, Nadia. Maybe lay off the coffee or something." His words gaslighted me right there in our kitchen, denying everything with that confident charm he used on everyone. I felt the humiliation surge, my cheeks heating up, but I didn't push harder, not with the kids so close. "I'm just asking," I said quietly, turning back to the stove. "We share everything, right?" He rolled his eyes, popping open the beer. "Yeah, we do. But if you don't trust me after 10 years, that's on you. Stop making mountains out of molehills." He walked off to the living room, ruffling Ben's hair like nothing happened, leaving me standing there, the sauce bubbling over as my isolation deepened. Later that night, after tucking Mia and Ben in, I sat on the couch with my phone, scrolling through the hidden folder of screenshots. Those photos. The mocking texts about my boring life. The bank statements lay beside me, more proof stacking up. But what good was it if I felt so trapped? I called my sister Elena, needing someone to talk to, my voice low so Victor wouldn't hear from upstairs. "Elena, things are weird with Victor. These charges and he's acting secretive. I think maybe there's someone else." She sighed on the other end, her tone hesitant. "Nadia, Victor's always been the hard-working type. Are you sure you're not overthinking? He provides for you guys so well. The house, the kids' school. Don't rock the boat over nothing." Her words stung, siding with his facade without even knowing the details, and it isolated me further, like no one would believe me against his charm. I hung up, tears pricking my eyes, and tried a friend next, Sarah from the old design days. "Sarah, hey, it's been forever. Listen, I need advice. Victor's been distant, and there are these bank things." She cut in gently. "Oh, Nadia, marriages have ups and downs. Victor's such a catch, always so put together at those barbecues. Maybe talk to him calmly. Don't jump to conclusions." Again, that charming image he projected won out, leaving me feeling like the crazy one, utterly alone in this mess. Emotional isolation wrapped around me like a vice, the house feeling too big and empty even with everyone in it. I'd sacrificed my career, my independence, and now I was financially vulnerable, tied to his business success that apparently funded his secrets. The next morning repeated the nightmare, Victor kissing me goodbye with a quick peck that felt hollow. "Have a good day, babe. Don't stress about that bank stuff. I'll handle it." I nodded, but as soon as he left, I pulled out the statements again, circling more expenses. A necklace from a high-end store, timed with one of his late nights. Powerless didn't cover it. I was at rock bottom, cornered by his gaslighting and the way everyone else saw him as the perfect husband. I confided in our neighbor Lisa over coffee that afternoon, the kids playing in her yard. "Lisa, something's off with Victor. These charges, his trips, it's like he's hiding a whole other life." She patted my hand sympathetically. "Honey, Victor's the nicest guy. Maybe it's stress from work. You two are goals. Don't let paranoia ruin it." Even she bought into his act, isolating me more, the oppression peaking as I realized how deep his web went. By evening, desperation clawed at me as I made dinner alone again. Victor texting about another late meeting. "Be home soon," he wrote, but I knew better now. The kids ate happily, oblivious, Mia telling stories about school while Ben mashed his food. "Mom, why do you look sad?" Mia asked, her fork paused. I smiled, ruffling her hair. "Just tired, sweetie. Eat up." But inside, the urgency built. How could I escape this trap without losing the house? The stability. Everything I'd built for them? The affair was confirmed, the financial drain real, and his denials only made me feel more trapped, like a victim in my own story waiting for a way out. I sat in the living room that night after tucking Mia and Ben into bed, the house finally quiet except for the distant hum of the refrigerator. The bank statements were spread out on the coffee table in front of me, those damning charges staring back like accusations I couldn't ignore anymore. Victor had texted earlier saying he'd be home late again, probably off with her, laughing about how easy it was to fool me. I picked up my phone, scrolling through the hidden folder of screenshots, the lobby photo, the mocking texts about my boring life, and felt something snap inside, not in rage, but in clarity, no more. I wasn't going to be the victim, gaslighted and isolated while he drained our life away. I had to act calmly for the kids' sake to protect what was left of our family. I opened my laptop and searched for private investigators in the area, my fingers typing steadily even as my heart raced. The first few results looked sketchy, but one caught my eye. Alex Ramirez, a former cop with good reviews for discreet family cases. His website promised evidence gathering without drama, and that's what I needed. Proof to build a case, not explosions that could hurt Mia and Ben. I clicked on his contact form and hesitated for just a second, thinking about my small savings account from those old freelance design gigs. It wasn't much, maybe a couple thousand tucked away for emergencies, but this qualified. "Hi, Alex," I typed in the message. "I suspect my husband is having an affair. I have some texts and bank records, but I need solid proof. Can we meet tomorrow?" Discreetly. I hit send and a weight lifted, like I was finally taking control instead of drowning in suspicion. The next morning, Victor shuffled into the kitchen as I poured coffee, looking hungover but playing it off with his usual charm. "Rough night?" I asked casually, handing him a mug while Mia colored at the table and Ben played with his trucks on the floor. He rubbed his temples and nodded. "Yeah, that client dinner turned into drinks. Closed the deal, though. Big win for the firm." I smiled faintly, stirring my own coffee. "That's great. Any plans for tonight?" He glanced at his phone, which buzzed in his pocket, and shrugged. "Might have another meeting." "Why?" "Just wondering," I said, keeping my voice light even as the lie fueled my resolve. Inside, I seethed at his smugness, but on the outside, I stayed calm, buttering toast for the kids. "Mia, eat up for school. Ben, no trucks at the table." Victor chuckled, ruffling Mia's hair. "You're the best mom, Nadia. Don't know what we'd do without you." After he left for work, kissing the kids goodbye but barely touching me, I checked my email. Alex had replied already. "Sure, let's meet at the coffee shop on Elm Street at 10 a.m. Bring what you have." I gathered the printed statements in my phone, locking the screenshots in a password-protected app for extra safety. Dropping the kids at school, I drove to the meeting spot, a quiet cafe downtown with booths in the back. Alex was easy to spot, mid-40s, sturdy build, sipping black coffee as he scanned the room. "Nadia?" he asked when I approached, standing to shake my hand. "Alex Ramirez. Have a seat. Tell me what's going on." I slid into the booth, glancing around to make sure no one I knew was nearby. "My husband Victor, 10 years married, 2 kids. He's been secretive, late nights, odd charges on our accounts. Then these anonymous texts started, with photos of him in hotels, dinners. I think it's an affair." He nodded, pulling out a notepad. "Sounds classic. You got any of that evidence with you?" I handed over the printed statements and showed him the phone screenshots explaining the timestamps matching his business trips. "These Charges Jewelry spas aren't for work," I said, my voice steady despite the heartbreak bubbling up. "He's gaslighting me when I ask, and my friends think I'm paranoid. I need proof to confront him properly for the divorce if it comes to that." Alex flipped through the papers, his expression serious. "Smart not to blow up yet. I'll start with tailing him, check his routines, maybe dig into phone records if we can. It'll cost about $1,500 upfront for a week's work, results guaranteed or partial refund." I swallowed hard, thinking of my savings dwindling, but nodded. "Okay, let's do it. I need to protect my kids and get my dignity back." He pocketed the check I wrote from my personal account, shaking my hand again. "You've got this. Stay calm, don't tip him off. I'll update you in a few days." Picking up the kids from school that afternoon, I felt a shift inside. From passive suffering to something stronger, a resolve building like armor. Mia chattered about her art project, Ben napping in his car seat, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled genuinely, knowing I was fighting back. Back home, I hid the PI contract in my desk drawer with the other evidence. Then started dinner as usual. Victor texted around 5 p.m., heading out for a quick errand after work, be home by 8. Errand, right? I bet it was her. But now, with Alex on it, their smug interactions wouldn't stay hidden long. I replied, "Okay, see you then." No accusations, just patience. That evening, as the kids ate mac and cheese, my phone buzzed with a new anonymous text. "He's meeting me tonight. Jealous?" Attached was a selfie of a woman, long dark hair, smirking, in what looked like a bar, but her face partially obscured. I screenshot it, added to my folder, and muted the thread again. "Not for long," I whispered to myself, the overconfidence in her taunt heightening my determination. Victor came home right on time, acting normal as he joined us for dessert. "Missed you guys," he said, scooping ice cream for Ben. "How was your day, Nadia?" "Fine," I replied, clearing plates. "Just the usual. Kids, house stuff." He nodded, pulling out his phone to check something, a sly smile creeping on his face that he quickly hid. "Good. Hey, got a bonus coming in soon. Maybe we can plan a family trip." The lie twisted in me, but I played along. Sounds nice. Inside, I knew he was still triumphant, believing he had it all. The business, the family facade, the side piece, but not anymore. As I loaded the dishwasher later, with him watching TV, I thought about Alex tailing him soon, gathering the proof I needed. The frustration at their smugness boiled, but it fueled me now, shifting me to proactive planning. I wasn't exploding. I was building leverage, reclaiming my dignity one step at a time. The next day, Alex texted an update. "Started surveillance. He's at the office now, but I'll follow after hours." I read it while folding laundry, a spark of strength igniting. No longer the suffering wife. I was the one turning the tide, protecting Mia and Ben from his mess. Victor called around lunch. "Hey, babe, everything okay at home?" "Yeah, why?" I asked, keeping casual. "Just checking. Love you." "Love you too," I said, but the words felt empty now. His overconfidence was clear in that call, like he thought he could juggle it all forever. But with my decision to strike back, their triumph wouldn't last. I spent the afternoon sketching old design ideas, reclaiming a piece of myself, the resolve growing stronger. By evening, as the kids played, I knew this was the awakening. I'd gather what I needed, calmly, and make him pay for the betrayal. A couple of days after I hired Alex, my phone rang while I was in the kitchen, wiping down the counters after breakfast. Mia was packing her backpack for school, and Ben was stacking his blocks on the floor, making little crashing noises. I glanced at the caller ID, Alex Ramirez, and stepped into the hallway to answer quietly. "Nadia, I've got solid leads already," he said, his voice steady and matter-of-fact. "We should meet. Same cafe as before, in an hour? Bring your phone with those original text attachments." I agreed, my pulse quickening but my tone even. "I'll be there. Just dropping the kids at school first." I hung up, called out to Mia and Ben to hurry up, and got them buckled into the car, my mind already racing ahead to what he might have uncovered. At the cafe, I slid into the booth across from Alex, who had a manila folder open and a tablet beside his coffee. "Let's get to it," he started, sliding a photo printout toward me. I tailed Victor after he left the office yesterday. He met this woman at a hotel bar in the city, long dark hair, mid-30s. From public corporate filings on his consulting firm, she's Serena Voss, listed as his executive assistant. But here's the key on those anonymous texts. I examined the metadata in the photo files you forwarded. The XIF data shows the images were taken on a device model that matches one registered to her through her social media uploads. Plus, the timestamps align perfectly with when I saw her alone at the bar, fiddling with her phone right after Victor stepped away. It's her, no doubt. I stared at the photo of Victor leaning close to Serena, their heads together over drinks, and felt a cold resolve settle in. Serena, I repeated, saving the name in my notes app. She's been taunting me this whole time, trying to break me down. Alex nodded and flipped to the next set of documents in the folder, printouts of financial records he'd pulled from licensed databases and cross-referenced with my bank statements. Now, on the money side, Victor's been siphoning assets from the business. Look here, reimbursements labeled as vendor payments going to a shell account he set up last year. Small transfers at first, $2,000 here, $5,000 there, but they've ramped up. I traced one to a joint hold with Serena's name on it through a public business registry filing. It's not just personal spending. He's routing client funds through fake invoices to build a nest egg, probably to cut ties without sharing half the business with you. I scanned the pages, seeing the patterns match the odd charges I'd spotted, dinners, hotels, now tied to these hidden moves. He's preparing to leave me penniless, I said softly, the betrayal hitting fresh. Those business trips were cover for setting this up. Alex leaned back. Exactly. I've got timestamps on his office logins showing he accessed the accounts right after meeting her. It's building a clear trail. Then he pulled out another sheet. This one a scanned email chain he'd obtained from a discrete source in the firm's network. Nothing hacked, just leveraged from public-facing backups and appointment logs. This is the uglier part. Victor's weaponizing medical documentation against you. He's been emailing a doctor buddy of his, an old college friend who's a psychiatrist, asking for notes on your supposed instability. See here, exaggerated wellness concerns based on your questions about the finances, twisted into claims of paranoia and anxiety. There are invoices for fake consultations he paid for out of pocket, creating a paper trail to use in custody battles, painting you as unfit. It's all designed to leverage against you in divorce court, making it look like you're the problem. I read the emails, my hands clenching the paper. Victor's words. Needs something solid on her mental state. She's been erratic. Heartbreak twisted into fury, but I kept my voice level. He's forging a narrative to take the kids too? That's low, even for him. Alex shrugged. It's bad faith strategy, but we've caught it early. No sworn testimony yet, so it's fraud territory if he tries to submit it. I left the meeting with copies of everything tucked into my bag, my confidence growing as the evidence stacked up. Back home, after picking up Mia and Ben from school and settling them with snacks and cartoons in the living room, I called my old friend Jenna, the lawyer I'd known since my graphic design days. Jenna, it's Nadia. I need to meet. It's urgent, about Victor. She picked up on the worry in my voice right away. Come to my office this afternoon. I'll clear my schedule. I arranged a quick sitter with Mrs. Patel next door, kissed the kids goodbye, and drove downtown, the folder burning a hole in my passenger seat. Jenna's office was cozy, with law books lining the shelves and a big window overlooking the street. She hugged me as I walked in, then sat me down with a cup of tea. Tell me everything, she said, her pen ready on a notepad. I laid it all out, the texts, photos, bank transfers, the asset siphoning to Serena's account, and the falsified medical notes from Victor's doctor friend. He's building a case to leave me with nothing and fight for custody by saying I'm unstable, I explained, passing her the documents. Jenna scanned them carefully, her brow furrowing. This is textbook financial manipulation and bad faith documentation. The transfers could qualify as marital asset dissipation. We can argue fraud on the business side. For the medical stuff, it's fabricated to weaponize in court. But since it's not under oath yet, we focus on disproving it with your own records and witnesses. I nodded, feeling the pieces align. What are our options? I want primary custody, half the business shares, and to stop him from draining more. She jotted notes as she spoke. We prepare a divorce petition emphasizing his infidelity and financial misconduct. For custody, highlight your role as the primary caregiver, the kids' routines, school involvement. On the money, we can seek a temporary asset freeze and a TRO to prevent further transfers. But we'll draft the paperwork and choose the timing carefully so he doesn't catch on and liquidate. First, gather more if you can, any emails or recordings from your PI. Safety-wise, change your passwords, secure your accounts, and document everything. I leaned forward. I'm not ready to file yet. I need to fracture his alliance with Serena first. Use this leverage to make her doubt him. Jenna smiled faintly. Smart. Play it strategic. Don't confront alone. We'll have the docs ready when you are. I left her office with a plan outlined on paper, my resolve hardened, divorce strategy. Evidence handling, financial safeguards all in place, but held back for the right moment. That evening, as I made dinner with Mia helping stir the pasta and Ben coloring at the table, Victor texted, "Running late, client issues. Kiss the kids for me." I replied, okay, but inside, I knew we had enough now. The photos, transfers, medical fakes, all tied to Serena. Alex had texted an update. More surveillance tomorrow, they're meeting again. I saved it, tucking my phone away as the kids laughed. With this leverage curated, I could orchestrate a private meeting with Serena soon, feed her doubts about Victor's loyalty without revealing my full hand. The scales were tipping, and for the first time, I felt in control. With the evidence from Alex and Jenna's advice locked away in my desk, I knew it was time to make my first real moves without Victor suspecting a thing. The next morning, after dropping Mia and Ben at school, I drove straight to Jenna's office, my hands gripping the wheel a little tighter than usual. The kids had been extra clingy that day, Mia asking why I seemed worried, and I'd brushed it off with a hug and a promise of park time later. Jenna was waiting for me in her conference room, papers spread out on the table. "Nadia, come in," she said, standing to give me a quick embrace. "I've drafted the temporary asset freeze and a TRO based on what you showed me. The financial siphoning and those falsified medical notes give us strong grounds. It'll prevent him from moving more money or harassing you once things heat up." I sat down, scanning the documents. "But we can't serve him yet, right? I need time to set up that meeting with Serena first. Make her crack without him knowing." Jenna nodded, highlighting a clause with her pen. "Exactly. We'll file today, but I'll request a delay on service of process. Hold it until you're ready. Maybe a week or two max. That way, he can't liquidate assets or destroy evidence in panic. The judge will likely approve given the fraud elements. It's about protecting marital property." I signed where she pointed, my signature steady even as my mind raced. "This feels like the first strike back," I said, handing the pen over. "He's been so arrogant, thinking he can paint me as unstable and walk away with everything." Jenna gathered the papers into a folder. "He won't. Once served, the freeze locks the business accounts and any hidden ones we flag. For the TRO, it'll keep him at a distance if needed, no contact except through lawyers. You're protecting the kid's future here, Nadia. Stay calm. Don't tip him off." And I stood up, feeling a quiet power build inside me. "I won't. Thanks, Jenna. This means everything." On the drive home, I called my sister Elena from the car, keeping my voice low even though I was alone. "Elena, it's me. I need your help with something big, but you can't tell anyone yet." She paused on the other end, her tone shifting from casual to concerned. "Nadia, what's going on? You sound serious." I pulled over into a parking lot to focus. "Victor's cheating and stealing from us, moving money to his mistress, faking docs to say I'm crazy. I have proof now, and I'm filing protections, but I need to erode his reputation quietly first. Can you hint to our mutual friends, like at book club or whatever? Subtle doubts about his fidelity, nothing direct, just plant seeds." Elena gasped. "Oh my God, Nadia, I knew something was off, but that bastard? Yeah, I'll do it. Tell them I've noticed him being shady, acting distant. What about Mom and Dad? Should I loop them in?" I shook my head, even though she couldn't see. "Not yet. Keep it to friends for now. It'll spread naturally. Make him sweat without knowing why." "Thanks, sis. You're a lifesaver." Back at the house, I hid the filing confirmations Jenna had emailed me in my cloud folder, then started lunch for when the kids got home. Victor texted around noon. "Hey, babe, lunch meeting running long." "Everything good there?" I replied casually. "Yeah, kids are fine. Miss you." But inside, I was already planning my next layer, feigning instability to lower his guard. That afternoon, after picking up Mia and Ben, I let myself look a bit more frazzled than usual when Victor called. "Nadia, you okay? You didn't answer my last text." His voice had that fake concern, probably checking if I suspected anything. I sighed heavily into the phone, making my words shaky. "I'm just exhausted, Victor. The kids, the house, it's all piling up. Maybe I am paranoid, like you said. I don't know anymore." He chuckled softly, that arrogant tone creeping in. "See? Take it easy, babe. I'll handle the big stuff. Get some rest. I'll be home late again. I hung up, smiling to myself as Mia tugged at my sleeve. Mom, can we bake cookies? We did, the kitchen filling with the smell of chocolate chips. But my mind was on the maneuver I'd escalate the act tonight. When Victor got home around 9 p.m., I was on the couch, staring at the TV but not really watching, my hair messy and a half-eaten bowl of cereal beside me. Hey, you look rough, he said, dropping his briefcase and loosening his tie. Kids in bed? I nodded slowly, rubbing my temples. Yeah. Victor, I think I need help. Maybe see a doctor. I've been so scattered, questioning everything. He sat down, patting my knee with that smug sympathy. Finally admitting it? Good, Nadia. I'll set something up with my friend, the psychiatrist. He'll sort you out. I forced tears to well up, looking away. Thanks. I just feel like I'm losing it. He hugged me briefly, but I felt his guard drop, his phone buzzing in his pocket without him hiding it as much. The next day, Elena texted, talked to Sarah and Lisa at coffee, dropped hints about Victor's late nights and how he's changed. They're gossiping already, asking if everything's okay with you two. I replied, perfect, keep it subtle. Friends were starting to doubt his perfect image, eroding his reputation quietly while I maintained my calm front. At home, I escalated the feigned collapse, leaving dishes piled up, forgetting to pay a bill so he'd notice, mumbling about stress when he was around. Nadia, you're really falling apart, he said one evening over dinner, Mia and Ben eating quietly. I told you, lay off the paranoia. The business is fine. Stop obsessing. I nodded weakly. You're right. I'm sorry. But his eyes had that triumphant gleam, like he was prepping his final embezzlement push, thinking I was too broken to fight. Alex called that afternoon with an update while I was folding laundry. Nadia, surveillance shows Victor meeting Serena at a cafe discussing more transfers. He's lowering his guard, mentioned you're cracking, and it's perfect timing. I whispered back, good, it's working. Keep tracking. Hanging up, I felt the suspense build. This initial strike was creating cracks. With friends whispering and Victor overconfident, Jenna emailed, filings approved, delay on service granted, ready when you are. I saved it, then played with the kids in the yard, Mia laughing as Ben chased Bubbles. Mom, you're happy today, Mia said, hugging me. I am, sweetie. Things are getting better. Victor texted, big deal closing soon, bonus incoming. I knew it meant more siphoning, but his lowered guard meant he'd slip up. That night, as he worked late in his home office, I overheard him on the phone. Yeah, Serena. She's collapsing just like we planned. We'll move the rest soon. I slipped away silently, my calm exterior hiding the anticipation. Consequences were unfolding, and I was orchestrating it all. The maneuvers continued over the next few days, Elena feeding more doubts to our circle. I saw Victor with some woman at lunch, looked cozy. Whispers reached back to me through Sarah. Nadia, is everything okay? Heard rumors. I played innocent. What rumors? Victor's just busy. But it was eroding his facade, friends pulling away subtly. At home, I amped up the act, crying in the bathroom where he could hear, forgetting appointments. See the doctor tomorrow, he insisted one morning, handing me a card for his psychiatrist friend. You're not yourself. I took it, nodding meekly. Okay, Victor, whatever you say. His arrogance peaked, preparing his final embezzlement as he believed I'd completely broken. Suspense hung thick. I maintained composure, knowing the asset freeze loomed, ready to drop at the perfect moment. With the asset freeze and TRO approved but held off on service, and Victor fully convinced I was unraveling from the way I'd been acting, scattered around the house, I decided it was time to approach Serena directly. I had her personal number from Alex's report. He'd pulled it from a public business directory tied to her role at Victor's firm. I sat at the kitchen table after dropping Mia and Ben at school, staring at my phone for a moment before typing a simple message. Serena, this is Nadia. I have information about Victor's financial moves that could put you at risk. If you want to know more and protect yourself, meet me alone at the outdoor cafe in Riverside Park at 11 a.m. tomorrow. No tricks, just facts. I hit send and set the phone down, my hands steady as I started lunch prep. She didn't reply right away, but an hour later, her message came. Fine, I'll be there. This better not be a setup. I didn't respond, let her stew in curiosity and caution. The next morning, Victor left for work after a quick breakfast where I played up my instability again, spilling my coffee and mumbling about feeling overwhelmed. Nadia, you're really not okay, he said, shaking his head as he grabbed his keys. That doctor's appointment can't come soon enough. I nodded vaguely, avoiding his eyes. Yeah, maybe. He kissed Mia and Ben goodbye, ruffling their hair, and headed out, his phone in hand like always. Once his car was gone, I got the kids ready and dropped them at a playdate with a neighbor, telling Mrs. Patel I'd be back by early afternoon. "Take your time, dear," she said. Glancing at me with that subtle concern, Elena's hints had started spreading. I drove to Riverside Park, arriving 20 minutes early to claim a quiet table outside the cafe, under a shaded awning with my back to the wall. The park was peaceful, families walking dogs, birds chirping, but I scanned the paths anyway, sipping water to stay focused. This wasn't about confrontation. It was about feeding her just enough to trigger her doubts. Serena arrived right on time, striding up in jeans and a light jacket, her long dark hair loose and her expression guarded but curious. She sat across from me without a word at first, crossing her arms as she sized me up. "Okay, Nadia, you got me here. What's this information that's supposed to put me at risk? Victor said you're falling apart, paranoid, unstable. Is this some desperate play to scare me off?" Her voice had that bold edge, like the texts she'd sent, and she leaned back with a faint smirk, testing me. I kept my face neutral, folding my hands on the table. "I'm not here to scare you or beg. Victor's been telling you I'm unstable, right? That's his story. But let's talk about the money he's been moving. You know about the transfers to your account?" She shifted slightly, her smirk fading a touch. "What about them? He's building something for us, away from you and your boring routine." I nodded slowly, pulling out a single printed bank statement from my bag, the one showing a $8, would transfer from Victor's business to an account linked to her name. I'd curated it carefully, redacting anything that could trace back to my full evidence. "Look at this. It's labeled as a vendor payment, not a gift. Tied to your LLC, right?" He set it up that way. She took the paper, her eyes scanning the details, but she shrugged it off. "So, it's for our plans. He trusts me with it." I leaned in a bit, keeping my voice calm and even. "Does he? I have a note from his accountant. Here's an excerpt." I slid over the second piece. A partial email printout where Victor instructed the accountant to classify the transfers as repayable loans under Serena's responsibility in case of any disputes. It was just enough to imply liability without showing the whole chain. "Read it. He's documenting these as debts you owe the business. If things go wrong, like an audit or a divorce, he can claim you were the one mishandling funds. Make you the scapegoat while he walks clean." Serena stared at the email excerpt, her fingers tightening on the edge of the paper. This could be out of context. He wouldn't set me up like that. We're partners in this. Her tone was defensive now, the confidence cracking just a little. I kept my expression professional, not pushing too hard. "Are you sure? Has he ever shown you the full paperwork? Or talked about what happens if the business gets scrutinized? Those transfers put your name on the line, not his. If auditors come, whose LLC is listed as the vendor? Who looks like the one taking unauthorized reimbursements?" She glanced away toward the park path, her jaw tightening. "He said it was safe, that you'd never find out." I paused, letting the silence hang for a beat. "But I did, and if I can, others will. Think about it. Has his exit plan ever included protecting you from fallout? Or is it just about him getting free and clear?" She didn't answer right away, her eyes flicking back to the papers, paranoia starting to show in the way she bit her lip. "You're trying to turn me against him," she said finally, but her voice lacked the earlier smirk. It was quieter, edged with doubt. "Why should I believe you? You're the one he's leaving." I gathered the documents back into my bag, meeting her gaze steadily. "Because self-preservation matters. Those loans are in your name. If he throws you under the bus to save himself, you're the one facing questions. Verify it yourself. Check the account statements he gave you. See if they're really gifts or something repayable." She stood up slowly, shoving her hands into her pockets, her face pale now. "I need to think about this. If you're lying..." She trailed off, but there was no threat in it, just uncertainty. "I'm not," I said simply. "Protect yourself, Serena. That's all I'm saying." She turned and walked away without another word, her steps hurried, glancing over her shoulder once before disappearing down the path. I sat there for a few more minutes, finishing my water to let the tension ease. The meeting had gone as planned. She was rattled, her instincts kicking in without me revealing too much. Back home, I picked up Mia and Ben, hugging them as they ran out with drawings from their playdate. "Look what I made, Mom," Mia said, holding up a picture of our family. I smiled and praised it, tucking it into my bag while we drove home. That afternoon, Alex texted an update. Surveillance shows Serena canceled her lunch with Victor via text. Said she needs space to think. She's gone silent since, no calls or meets. I saved the message, feeling the cracks form deeper. Victor came home that evening looking distracted as he set down his briefcase. Rough day? I asked from the couch, keeping up the fragile act by rubbing my temples. He nodded, checking his phone with a frown. Yeah, some complications at work. Assistants acting weird flaked on a meeting. I murmured something sympathetic, but inside I noted how he paced a bit, sensing something off without knowing the source. Everything will sort out, I said softly, handing him a plate for dinner. He ate quietly, glancing at his silent phone again while Mia and Ben chattered about their day. The alliance was fracturing, and Victor had no time to cover his tracks before the full reveal hit. The next morning, Victor left for work tense, muttering about rescheduling things. Serena's not responding. Probably sick or something, he said over coffee. His arrogance dimmed by confusion. I nodded weakly, stirring my mug. Hope she's okay. But Alex confirmed later. She's blocked his personal number and skipped the office. Looks like she's pulling back hard, verifying accounts on her own, from what I can see. I tucked my phone away as the kids played in the living room, the suspense building. Elena called that afternoon. Friends are buzzing more. Someone saw Victor looking stressed at a lunch spot alone. I whispered back, good. It's all coming together. Victor came home that night, snapping at a spilled toy from Ben, his facade cracking without him realizing why. Sorry, kiddo, he said, but his eyes darted to his phone, still no word from Serena. I cleared the table calmly. Knowing this silence gave me the window for the lawyer's office without him destroying a thing. Mia climbed into my lap after dinner. Dad seems mad. I hugged her close. It'll pass, sweetie. The villain's unity was shattered, paving the way for judgment. I sat in Jenna's conference room that afternoon. The stack of evidence spread out in front of me like a map to freedom. The room felt stuffy with its heavy wooden table and shelves of legal books, but I kept my breathing even, reviewing the divorce petition one last time. Mia and Ben were at a play date with Mrs. Patel. I'd told her I had an important appointment, and she'd nodded with that knowing look, probably from the rumors Elena had been planting. Jenna paced by the window, checking her watch. He'll be here soon. I had the papers served at his office an hour ago. Told him it was an urgent family matter requiring his presence. He's probably fuming. I nodded, folding my hands in my lap. Good, let him come in hot. The evidence will cool him down. My phone buzzed with a text from Alex. Victor's on his way, looks agitated. Serena still silent, no contact since yesterday. I tucked it away, feeling the leverage solid in my grasp. The door burst open at 3:05 p.m. and Victor stormed in, his face flushed and tie crooked, clutching the served documents like they were poison. Nadia, what the fuck is this? An asset freeze? Temporary orders? You ambush me at work like some criminal? He slammed the papers on the table, glaring at me before turning to Jenna. And you, who the hell are you? Her hired gun to screw me over? Jenna stood calmly, gesturing to the chair across from us. Jenna Hayes, Nadia's attorney. Please sit, Mr. Voss. This is a formal meeting to discuss the divorce petition and related matters. Victor dropped into the seat, leaning forward with that arrogant sneer I'd seen too many times. Divorce? You're kidding. Nadia, you're unstable, paranoid, just like I've been saying. This is your breakdown talking. Drop this nonsense now or I'll make sure you regret it. I met his eyes without flinching, starting with the first layer of proof. I slid the bank statements across the table, the ones showing thousands in unauthorized expenses on restaurants, hotels, and gifts. Let's start here, Victor. These charges aren't business. Dinners at upscale spots during your late meetings. Why hotel stays matching the photos from those anonymous texts? You drained our joint accounts for your affair with Serena. He snatched the papers, scanning them quickly before tossing them back with a laugh. Affair? That's your paranoia again. Those are client entertainments, necessary for deals. You don't get the consulting world, Nadia. You gave up your little design job to play house. This proves nothing. Jenna nodded to me, and I pulled out the next set, the financial transfer records Alex had traced. It proves dissipation of marital assets. Look at these vendor payments routing through a shell account. Thousands siphoned from the business. Small at first, but building up. You were hiding it to cut me out. Victor's laugh turned sharp, his fists clenching on the table. Siphoning? That's legitimate reimbursements, business ops. You're twisting numbers because you're desperate. The kids need me. not some fragile mom who's been crying every night. I'll fight for full custody. My doctor's notes show you're erratic, unfit. The mention of those falsified medical documents stung, but I stayed calm. Sliding over the accountant email excerpt, the one classifying the transfers as loans tied to Serena's liability. Desperate? Like how you're shifting blame to her? This note to your accountant labels those funds as repayable debts in her name. You're setting Serena up as the scapegoat if audits hit, making her the fall guy while you walk free. His eyes widened for a split second, denial cracking into anger. Serena, what do you know about her? She's my assistant, nothing more. This is fabricated bullshit. Illegal, probably. I'll sue you for slander. Take everything. The house, the business, you'll be left with nothing. Begging on the street. Jenna interjected smoothly. Actually, Mr. Voss, it's evidence of fraud. Nadia is requesting primary custody. She's the primary caregiver, handling the kids' routines. School, everything stable, while your deception creates chaos. Plus half the business shares and alimony for the years she supported your career. Victor shot up from his chair, pointing at me with rage twisting his face. Primary custody? Over my dead body? Mia and Ben stay with me. The provider, the stable one. You're the mess, Nadia. I'll drag this to court, expose your breakdowns. And alimony? You didn't earn shit, I built the firm. Drop this or I'll make your life hell. I didn't rise. Just reach for the surveillance photos next. The ones of him with Serena at the hotel bar. Timestamps matching the transfers. Hell, like the one you've put me through. These photos confirm the affair tied to the spending. And here's the weaponized narrative you've been building. That unstable label from your doctor friend. Exaggerated notes, paid invoices for fake concerns. It's all here, Victor. Your bad faith attempt to discredit me for custody leverage. He grabbed the photos, tearing one in half before Jenna warned him. Destroying evidence won't help. His anger shifted to threats, his voice low and venomous. You think you can corner me? I'll appeal everything, bury you in legal fees. Serena will back me. She knows the truth. We're a team. I played the audio clip then from my phone. The recording Alex had captured of Victor plotting with her. She's cracking. Perfect time to move. The rest, Serena. Hold it till clear. His face drained of color, denial crumbling as he heard his own words. That's edited. Fake. Nadia, please, think of the family. We can fix this privately. I love you. It was a mistake. End the affair, counseling, whatever. For the kids. His tone turned pleading, hands outstretched. Don't tear us apart. I'll give you more money, better terms, just not custody. They need their dad. Jenna pushed the settlement draft forward. The terms are fair. Primary custody for Nadia based on stability and your misconduct. Half shares. Alimony at market rate. Sign or we escalate. Victor sank back, rubbing his temples, bargaining now. Okay, fine, joint custody, reduced alimony. But drop the fraud talk, it's business. Serena's out, I haven't heard from her anyway. I shook my head firmly. No deals, you've manipulated enough. The evidence stands. The tension peaked as he stared at the draft, his hand hovering over the pen. You bitch, this ruins me. Jenna cleared her throat. You have 48 hours to accept, Mr. Voss, or we file publicly tomorrow and pursue fraud charges. The temporary orders activate now. No asset moves. Communication through counsel only. Victor stood abruptly, shoving the chair back with a screech, his eyes wild. 48 hours. You'll hear from my lawyer. This isn't over. He stormed out, slamming the door, leaving the room echoing with his threat. I exhaled slowly, my hands trembling under the table now that he was gone. Jenna patted my arm. He's cornered, but stay vigilant. That rage could turn ugly. I nodded, gathering the papers, the cliffhanger hanging heavy. What would he do in those 48 hours? The 48 hours after Victor stormed out of Jenna's office felt like walking a tightrope. But I kept my focus on the kids, maintaining our routines to shield them from the storm. Mia and Ben asked about their dad a few times, wondering why he wasn't home, and I explained gently that he was staying at a hotel for work reasons while we sorted some. Grown-up things. The temporary orders were in effect now. The court had granted me exclusive use of the marital home to ensure stability for the children, and any custody exchanges would be structured through a neutral third party, like Mrs. Patel or a supervised visit center. Communication was strictly through counsel only. So when Victor texted me directly that first night, Nadia, let's talk this out privately. For the kids, I forwarded it straight to Jenna without replying. That's a violation. she said when I called her. "We'll note it for the record. It strengthens our position if he pushes back." I nodded to myself in the quiet kitchen, pouring cereal for breakfast the next morning as Mia chattered about her school project. "Mom, can Dad help with my drawing?" she asked, her pencil hovering over the paper. I smiled and sat beside her. "I'll help today, sweetie. We'll make it great." Keeping calm like this, step by step, was what had gotten me this far. No impulsive reactions, just smart moves to protect us. Jenna's call came around noon on the second day, as I folded laundry in the living room with Ben playing nearby. "Victor's lawyer reached out," she said, her tone brisk. "He's ready to settle, wants to avoid public filing and the fraud investigation escalating. We've refined the terms based on the evidence. Primary custody to you, with structured visitation for him every other weekend and one midweek dinner. Supervised until the court reviews his compliance. Half the business shares transferred to you, or an equivalent buyout if he prefers. Plus alimony at $4,500 a month for the next 7 years to account for your career sacrifice. And child support calculated at state guidelines, about $2,000 monthly." I set down the shirt I was holding, relief mixing with the lingering ache of betrayal. "He agreed? No more fighting?" Jenna paused. "He's cornered. The DA's office opened a review after we submitted the evidence package. The asset siphoning and those falsified medical notes could lead to charges for fraud and document tampering. Potential fines up to $50,000, restitution to you for the hidden funds, and probation if convicted. His lawyer advised him to sign and cooperate to mitigate." I glanced at Ben stacking his blocks, his little world so innocent. "Okay. When do we finalize?" Jenna replied. "Tomorrow at my office. Bring the kids' schedules. We'll attach them to show your role as primary caregiver." The signing happened the next afternoon, Victor arriving with his lawyer, looking hollow-eyed and defeated as he sat across the table in Jenna's conference room. His suit hung loose, like he'd lost weight in those 2 days, and he avoided my gaze at first, fiddling with his pen. "Nadia," he started quietly, but his lawyer put a hand on his arm. "Through me, Victor." Jenna laid out the papers. "The settlement reflects the best interests of Mia and Ben Nadia as primary custodian, given her daily involvement in their routines, school, and emotional stability, versus the chaos from Mr. Voss's financial misconduct. Visitation as outlined, no overnights until a review in 6 months. Half shares in the consulting firm to Nadia, alimony and support as agreed." Victor's lawyer nodded. "My client accepts to limit further exposure." Victor finally looked up, his voice rough with regret. "I didn't mean for it to go this far, Nadia. The business was everything. I got greedy. Serena pushed me into it, but I messed up. Can we at least make visitation flexible? I love those kids." I kept my tone even, folding my hands. "Love, you risk their future hiding assets, lying about everything. The terms stay, structured to keep them safe." He signed then, his hand steady but his shoulders slumped. "Fine. But you'll see. I'll rebuild. Prove I'm better." Jenna notarized it. "Court approval should come in a few weeks. In the meantime, the freeze holds. No moves on the business." As I left the office, Jenna pulled me aside. "One more thing. Serena's attorney contacted us. She's cutting all ties with Victor, offering a statement confirming the affair and the transfers to protect herself from any liability. Says he promised her a future but documented everything to make her the fall guy if it blew up. She's cooperating with the DA's review to avoid charges." I exhaled slowly, the final thread of their alliance snapping. Self-preservation, like I told her. Good, she's out of our lives. Back home, I picked up Mia and Ben, their energy bursting as they ran to the car. "Mom, guess what we learned today?" Mia said, waving a worksheet. I laughed and buckled them in. "Tell me everything." That evening, we baked cookies together, flour dusting the counter as Ben giggled and Mia measured ingredients. The simple joy of it grounded me, the emotional isolation fading into warmth. No more suspicion lurking in the shadows. Over the next few days, the fallout hit Victor hard. Elena called with updates from our social circle. Friends are dropping him left and right. Sarah heard about the affair and fraud whispers, and she's furious he lied at those barbecues. His reputation's toast. No one's inviting him anywhere. Then Alex texted, "Clients pulling out." 2 big accounts canceled after the public filings hit the business registries. He's scrambling, but the damage is done. The DA's investigation moved forward, and a week later, Jenna confirmed, "Victor's facing restitution to you for the siphoned funds, about $75,000. and fines of $20,000, plus a year of probation for the fraud. No jail, but his firm's on thin ice. Serena had testified fully by then, abandoning him completely to save her own skin, leaving him isolated in that hotel room, his calls to her going unanswered. I overheard from his lawyer during a custody handoff that he was regretful now, muttering about lost everything, but it was too late. His arrogance had cost him dearly. The court approved the divorce 2 weeks later, sealing the settlement and ensuring my financial independence. I transferred half the business shares into my name, with alimony and support starting immediately, giving me the freedom to ease back into graphic design, sketching logos at the kitchen table while the kids played. "Mom, that's pretty," Ben said one afternoon, pointing at my drawing. I smiled and pulled him onto my lap. "Thanks, buddy, we're building something new." Victor's visits started structured, at a park with a supervisor, his face etched with loss as he played with the kids. But I kept boundaries firm, communicating only through Jenna. His reputation had collapsed, clients gone, friends silent. The scandal a quiet buzz in our suburb that painted him as the villain he was. Serena vanished from the picture, her testimony the nail in his coffin, leaving him utterly alone to face the consequences of his deception. As I watched Mia and Ben chase each other in the backyard that weekend, laughter filling the air, I felt a deep peace settle in. The heartbreak and humiliation had forged something stronger in me. Calm in the face of betrayal had led to smart choices, uncovering truth and delivering justice. No more emotional isolation. I had my kids, my dignity, and a fresh start. Rebuilding wasn't easy, but it was mine, empowered by the evidence I'd gathered and the resolve I'd found. Justice had triumphed, proving that calculated actions restore control and fairness, even from the depths of pain. My dear, if you're watching this and feel your heart growing heavy, then perhaps you are just like me, someone who has endured so much just to keep a home peaceful, someone who stayed silent just so others could feel comfortable. I don't know your story, but if there was ever a time you thought, "It's okay, I can take a little more," then please leave me a comment with just one sentence. I have endured. I cannot promise to change everything for you, but I want you to know this. Suffering in silence is not your duty, and staying quiet for too long will make you lose yourself. If today you aren't strong enough to say no, that's okay. Just don't blame yourself. And if this story feels like it's speaking for your heart, please subscribe and stay here with me, so that every day I can remind you that the person who sacrifices the most also deserves to be treated with kindness. On screen right now, you'll see 2 new stories I think you'll really enjoy. There are many more waiting for you on the channel, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. See you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love. With all my love and respect.